Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're the Ghouls Next Door.
Talk about that spooky stuff all the time. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah. And this time we are kind of reevaluating old topics.
Of sorts.
Yeah, like we're finding new things to talk about in regards to a topic we've already talked about.
Yeah. November.
It happened, I guess.
We're here.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yes. Today we're going to be talking about the occult.
Yeah.
Occultism.
Occultism.
Previously, we've talked about witches, where we talked about the Blair Witch. I believe that was episode 4.
Yeah, it was early. Which, I mean, honestly, I went back and looked at our script and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We were like, we were trying to be really legit.
Yeah, no, I'd say by episode, 4, I'd say 4 was when we were like, okay, there has to be a strategy. We
were like, doing. The first 2 were fun.
Yeah.
But we need to get it together.
Yeah. And now we're at episode 81.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we've come a long way from episode 4. And so instead of talking about just witches, and I didn't want to do the classic, let's talk about Salem witch trials. We all know what that was.
We all know it was a bad time for ladies.
Yeah. So instead, we're going to talk about the occult and what that is. We're going to kind of talk about how it affects the world around us, right? And then we also watched 2 films. So we watched The Endless and A Dark Song. So we'll be telling you guys that stuff. And, honestly, spoilers. You know how this works.
Yeah, it's going to be spoils on spoils.
Yeah. So I guess dive into our spooky pot of potions. Is that? Yeah.
Our potions are words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boil and toil and trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Your facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Your facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
Cool. So, as we do here at the Ghouls Next Door, we're going to try to be smarts about stuff.
What?
We're not going to be dumb. We're going to be smart.
Excellent.
Yeah. We're starting
That's what
strong.
I prescribe to. Yeah, I think people are already convinced.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to tell someone, assert by repeating it several times that you're smart, people are like, okay, yeah, only a smart person would do that.
Yeah, that's true.
With their words and not their actions.
Hey,
Yeah.
I think I do it with my actions, too, friends.
Well,
I've been told I have a history corner.
Okay,
So,
you do have a history corner.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you
Thanks, Roland.
sit us down?
Roland loves me.
Yeah, he does.
Gabe.
He's your number 1 fan.
Aw.
Roland, if you're listening, and you probably are because you're a good fan, Kat says hi.
Hi. I can say it myself, too, because I'm here.
You're here. We are going to actually we're going to sit down, crisscross applesauce, get comfortable for the story time in Kat's history corner, where we're going to learn about what in the world is occultism. What is the deal?
If you can hear my voice clap once. Oh my God, you did it.
I did it.
You can hear me. Okay, cool. So the Britannica Dictionary defines occultism as various theories and practices involving a belief in and knowledge of or use of supernatural forces or beings. So it's very vague.
Yeah.
It's just
literally
spooky
anything
stuff.
and something not natural is happening.
Yeah. Something that seems a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And you don't have science yet to back it up.
Yeah. Which, according to Ed Warren, means
It's
globules.
Ghosts. Yeah, globule. I still can't say it. That's crazy. Okay. No, I'm not going to keep trying. But yeah, so the one thing that I found really interesting about occultism is that it's existed in terms of people believe in it.
Yeah.
Across almost all of our cultures. All human societies as a whole have mentioned occultism in some way. So it's it's either witchcraft or it's,
spiritual healing.
Spiritual healing. Other things that are just supernatural.
Other kinds of religion.
And usually religion is heavily drenched in it.
Yeah.
And it kind of depends on like where you're coming from, how you view it. So you have like, there's people who see it as a powerful thing, like it's a good thing. You want to have occultism associated with what you're doing because it like gives you power.
Yeah.
You know, you're healing people. You're a spiritual healer. You are a witch doctor, which is fighting against witchcraft in a medicine sense. And, you know, there's lots of places where it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
We're not embracing Western medicine. We're embracing a different kind of medicine. And it doesn't make it wrong. Mm-hmm. So that's the like fun thing that anthropology does.
Yeah.
Is that it shows you that like just because people don't believe the thing you believe does not mean they are wrong.
Yeah.
It just means they have different views.
And it also like is a very strong thing in regards to like any mental health issues, right? Because those are that's like cannot always be like cured or like fixed or even just like managed with some traditional like Western medicines, right? Like sometimes you do need to do more homeopathic remedies, and sometimes that works best for people. So I think yeah. And I one thing I thought was interesting. I'll let you talk more, and then I'll pop in because there's something I thought was cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought it was really like cool how I remember reading about this when I was like when I was in college. I had anthropology of medicine, and then it was basically talking about all the different ways that people practice medicine and how there are so many different versions of medicine that exist that extend past Western medicine, and how like everyone always really tries to push Western medicine because they're like science, this, that, you know, and then it's like, it's not to say the other things that people are doing aren't scientific. It's just that's not how they are calling it.
Yeah.
Just because it's not labeled.
Yeah.
Like prescription-y, that like, you know, we're not trying to make big pharma everywhere.
Yeah. Well, they probably like,
helpful.
yeah, conducted their own experiments with it, right? It's like, they're like, we have a theory, we tested it, here it is, but it's not like outwardly called science, but they didn't just get there on a whim. They tried things and then they found this worked, and maybe they can't explain why it works, but it does.
Yeah. And I mean, if you ever have seen Dr. Stone, it's a new anime. They touch on this a little bit in that like there's this guy who's practicing what he calls alchemy, and he's really just doing science, but he like calls it alchemy, and he's like making a whole big deal, and he's like really smart. He just didn't have the terms that were created in like the future society. So the premise of Dr. Stone is that all people were frozen, all Medusa style.
Oh.
And then they wake up because of science. And there's this Dr. Stone who's a scientist, and he's trying to like show like primitive society science again. And how like there's this one guy who's an alchemist, and he's like doing all this science stuff. He just doesn't have the same phrases for it. And then like at first Dr. Stone's like real rude to him. And then they start to like grow, and like he starts to respect all the work that he's done with none of like the previous knowledge. So he basically, if you had gone back in time, was like rediscovering all the stuff that famous scientists had discovered before, or without any of the context or knowledge that that had already existed.
Without any of the assistance to get that back there.
Yes. I hope I didn't spoil Dr. Stone for anybody. It's really good. But yeah, essentially, I kind of view how Western society views occultism with that kind of lens. It's just like lots of things that we don't understand. And as we do in the West, manifest destiny and all that stuff, we like to tell other people they don't know what they're talking about.
Yep.
We like to act like we know everything and that, you know, there's no other way to look at it and all that stuff. If you're looking at it from a Western lens, you know, in terms of like Western society generally goes, you're either religious-y, like in Christianity, and, you know, there are other religions within Western society, but we force Christianity down everyone's throats. And then also, or you're approaching it from like a very scientific background. So you generally view the occult or occultism as like nonsense if you view it from a science standpoint. You're just like, nah, this is just mental health problems.
Yeah.
And people who need medicine. And not everyone always needs medicine. But then you also have the other end where it's like someone has cancer and they don't want to get cured for cancer because they want God to fix. You know what I mean? Like it's like a hard line to toe. Battlestar Galactica has a good episode about it. But
yes.
Or you're approaching it from like a Christianity standpoint. And that's like, it's demons. It's bad.
Yeah.
you are
You're working with dark magic.
You're working with the devil. And that's where you get things like possession, where like there are certain cultures in Africa where possession is like a grand thing.
Yeah.
You like everyone's getting possessed. It's a good time. Like it's like means something positive. Where like we're like trying to exorcise people and like hurt them through exorcism because we're like witches and demons
get that out of you.
And all that stuff.
Well, this is where I will insert the thought that I had.
Dope.
Because it's perfect. So I listened to a TED Talk by the author of Eat, Pray, Love, and I'm blanking on her name right now. I want to say it's like Perkins. Something like that.
I just think
Gilbert
one with the lady with the big mouth who was in the movie for it.
Okay, rude.
No, she just is known. Julia Roberts. She has a large mouth.
You know I can't tell them apart. So I don't know which one you're talking about, but I'll take it. But the author of Eat, Pray, Love had this TED Talk about the idea of demons back in the day and how it was actually a good thing. Like, it wasn't like the demons that we think of now where it's just like they're, you know, like pawns for Satan and evil. It was that there was like, it was essentially what a demon was like a spirit, like like a supernatural being spirit that would then possess like artists and creators and then use them as a tool to create. So what happened with that was that if they did really, really well, it helped them remain humble because they were like, well, I didn't do it. The spirit did it. Right. So like, you're not like being over celebrityed because you're just like, oh, I just got lucky that I got possessed and I can be like humble about it and like appreciate it. Whereas also if it didn't work out and it was not great, then it was like, oh, I guess that was just a bad like spirit that was in there. They did a bad job. And then you don't like beat yourself up about it. Yeah. And so as soon as people kind of cast that away, that's when we got like the starving artist and like the artists that like bring themselves to like suicide, trying to like do better or like outdo themselves and to like bear that whole limelight. And so it was like when we kind of took it upon it was us and not the spirit, then it became our fault when something went wrong. Yeah. But it was also like all us if it went really well, which just meant you were setting yourself up for future failure because how are you going to outdo that? Yeah. So no, I just, wild. Yeah, I loved that TED Talk. I can't remember her name right now, but definitely look it up. It's super inspiring for anyone who likes to write.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And it's just, like, interesting, too, because it's basically people have, like, used, like, fear of the occultism as, like, a way to just murder women for thousands of years.
They don't even need excuses all the time.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, basically anything, like, would used to be considered witchcraft. And it was just, like, kind of back when Christianity was really in its heyday and, like, the Catholic Church and getting power and all that stuff that really started to spread. And lots of people got murdered. Yeah. And, like, for doing not that bad stuff. Like, just doing stuff like that nowadays, we'd be like, what?
Well, think about, like, in a time period when, like, we don't have doctors, where you would just have someone who could make up remedies because they studied herbology and, like, had like, plants and would craft you these remedies that would sometimes work. I mean, you're gambling, right? But you had someone who was, like, honestly like the lifeblood of this little town. And as soon as something goes wrong, it's so easy to point a finger at that person because we think, oh, they're doing something black magic spiritual, not thinking, oh, they're just like, you know, making helpful little remedies.
Yeah, I read something where it was like, you could just be a woman and like collecting herbs in a garden and they're like, burn her. Yeah. She's a witch.
She's got a motive. Yeah. And it's like, no, I just, I wanted to make a really good stew. I guess I'm the stew now.
We're dead. I don't
do
understand.
I float? I don't know.
And it's just, and it's just like the whole fear is just so interesting because there's so many reasons why I think it's not that deep. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if we're talking about the movie Endless, that's stressful. Yeah. I don't want that. Yeah. But at the same, like, it's just like, it's not that
But it also
deep. We make it so scary. It's not scary. Yeah. It's just like stuff we can't understand yet and we'll understand eventually.
Yeah. It's just a way to kind of cope. Yeah. With the bigness, the enormity of the universe and all the expansive things that we don't understand.
There's so many things we're never going to understand, and we need to not kill people about it. Yeah. It's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. That's my view on occultism. Thank you for coming to my talk.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
The cat talk.
Yeah, cat talk.
K-A-T. It would be, I don't know, any words that start with K.
Cat talk. Yep, it's me.
Little cat talk.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I will say this. So, in researching the occult, so there's something I really found interesting in it when I was looking, like, one, to find films to study, because originally we were thinking of readdressing witches, and I was like, yeah, there's a lot on witches, but even that is like, there's so much more to them than what that is. And I was like, I wanted to kind of try something different. And then I just thought, I was like, what about the occult? And so I Googled the occult to find different films, and a plethora.
Well, because it's such a wide topic.
Yeah. And they're all so different. And what I found was like, one, like TV and film and just like media in general just love the occult. It's so interesting to like make, and they're also diverse, like the way that these topics are approached, but we get like witches, witchcrafts, and all the fun and spooky parts of the occult. But like, yeah. So one, we talked about the witch in a long time ago in our witches episode in the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
And what I found was like we've done quite a few episodes that have media in them that could be linked to the occult. That we've already covered. So like I
feel like the spooky times just align to that.
Yeah, like there's Hereditary, Suspiria, The Craft, obviously, so much more. And there's even like ones that we haven't talked about, but that we have watched or indulged in, like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which you're mad at me because I watched it without you.
I stopped watching it because you did that.
It was The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Burn her.
What I thought was very interesting. God, we just said no.
She watches things as she's a witch.
No. What I thought was interesting about The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because I had never, like, I knew a little bit about Sabrina, obviously because of the 90s show.
Yeah.
But even more than, I knew there was a comic, but I didn't really know. And then when you kind of see that it's like linked to Archie, there's like this weird like cuteness to it that like you kind of, even though it's very like the comic itself is so much more intense than what this show is, right? Because the show kind of tries to make occultism almost as charming and cute as Kiernan Shipka, the lady who plays the girl who plays Sabrina in it, right? But there are some really intense themes in there that I felt like were like, there's empowerment and feminism, which is so intertwined with occultism, right? Like that's why oftentimes we see witches, they're ladies.
Well, yeah, they wanted to burn us because we wanted rights. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. But there's also like a strength that comes from that I find is interesting, but twofold, because the head of whatever the occultism like practices does tend to be male. So there's this, or like male presenting. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it kind of folds in on itself in regards to feminism. Like that's one thing that like I liked, because I have not finished Sabrina and I'm not caught up in any way, but there was a part where she was like kind of fighting back, but she was getting stuck into like the role that everyone wanted her to be. But she was adamantly like, I don't know Lucifer. Like I don't know Satan and his deal. Yeah. And like, I feel like he's just using us and it's gross. And at the same time, I do really want to learn about this stuff because then I get powers and I can do better and do good. And that also makes me think of The Love Witch, which you did not watch, but I watched. Yeah.
You told me I wouldn't like it.
You wouldn't. You would have been bored.
Okay.
But I was, because to me, it reminded me a lot of the Giallo that we watched, and you didn't like those. Giallo. Yeah. And so it kind of has like, it's like a lot of color, although the colors are pastel. It's just lots of color, lots of pretty. And then it's like kind of suspenseful. But it's so aesthetic and like purposeful in the way that it's shot. That like one, you don't really like it was made very recently, but it looks like it was made in the 60s, like on purpose.
That's cool though.
Yeah. But there's like this whole thing that I thought was weird with The Love Witch, where she is like, you know, she was heartbroken and then she finds power in becoming a witch and like lures men and all this stuff. But she still has like the traditional things where she has to like bow down to a man and like kind of, and then her purpose is to like please a man, but at the same time it's not like I don't think she gets that that's not what her purpose is. Like I didn't finish that one either because I fell asleep. It was very late, and then I was like, I can't make Kat watch this, so I just had to find time for myself. But what I find out a lot in this is like a dichotomy in most of our media and in reality, where we have both a strength and empowerment aspect to occultism, and then also just like an undermining of our rights, like our individualism as women. Something that we discovered when we were researching this was a perplexing theory that I found, or Kat found actually, on our Esquire.com.
Yes.
And it's this article titled, "Ask Not What You Can Do for Your Country, but What Witchcraft Can Do for You."
Yeah, it's a fun title.
Yeah, it's very fun. And in this article, the writer Ann T. Donahue finds a connection between the trends of our occult media crazes and like what is happening politically in our country, specifically in America, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And specifically, she starts it out talking about Lana Del Rey. And how she had mentioned that she would put a hex on President Trump.
Yeah.
Not my President Trump.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, it's so in line with what we're doing these days. You know, like being a witch is like cool. Like,
yeah, no, it's like a big stance in femininity and, you know, just kind of like taking control of yourself and against the patriarchy.
Yeah. And it's also like, you know, this like, you know, kind of grounded way to like take care of yourself too. And you know, there's like, it's tarot readings are big now, and like people really understanding their own spiritual like well-being and who they are. So it's definitely like Lana Del Rey like totally jumped on that. And it's great because also she just like reminds me of the Love Witch because of her aesthetic.
Oh yeah.
That I was like, this is like, she should have been in there. Although the actress did a really great job. But so in this article, there's like this comparison of times when there's like kind of like political like not turmoil, but like kind of like apprehension and like where women kind of feel threatened or the world kind of feels threatened. And then there's also yes, our rights are threatened, or just like, you know, where we have people in power who are very clearly against what is best for us, or just like are showing the opposite of what would be great for us. And so then there's like a spike. There happens to be a spike in occultism and like feminist witches that pop up in media. So like she explains like during like Clinton, we had the Craft and Charmed pop up. And that is such an interesting thing to happen because we have these two shows that have, or a show and a film that have 4 strong witchy women, right? Who are like going against like what is expected of them and finding power. And even if the Craft has like its own issues, right?
Yeah.
But it's during a time when our own president is abusing his power to have an affair with Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, this is like an ironic and tragic attempt at us like wrestling back power, right? Like we're seeing that in front of us. So she had said in her article, Ann T. Donahue says, "We tend to reclaim power through culture when we're feeling politically powerless, and nothing offers us the illusion of power like watching fictional characters wield theirs.
Yeah.
In fact, almost all surges of witch-centric programming seem like they culturally call out their respective social and political realities." So her, like, she even goes into... she goes to compare the rebellious and relatable kids in Harry Potter and they're like fighting back against Voldemort as serving like a larger purpose when placed upon like the fact that it's happening during the background of the Bush years when we have so many people who are just like puppets during that time, and like the Iraq War, like we're just like funneled into that.
And like all this awful stuff's happening, but no one's trying to do anything about it. And anyone who is getting like, shh.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like, if only we had a couple of witches and wizards who can fight against the big bad, right? I don't know if I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a reach in the article. Some of it does feel a little bit like coincidence. Like Lana Del Rey's quote is very much because that's the time and because Trump is very much an aggressor of women's rights, right? I think the other ones are like, it speaks more of the fact that we do have so many pieces of media that have the occult in them and have witches, and that a lot of them actually are like positive stories. That's what I found very interesting. Is that we have like so many, like we have like what practical magic, we have like even the ones that are supposed to be scary or not, like Hocus Pocus, right? Like, there's so many out there, and even just thinking about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Charmed, like those are cute shows. Like the new Sabrina is a cute show, and it was always like, look at this charming thing we have. We have women who are in power, and they do it, and it's not always just like we are being feminists, like punching you in the face. Yeah. It's always just like, yeah, of course we are. Yeah. Like, and we're having fun with it. We all are different. Like, we're all different types of women. We all have our own individual challenges, and magic is also there. Kind of thing. And I thought that was really interesting because even when we were looking for films to talk about in this section, I felt like there wasn't a lot of specifically occult driven horror films. And there's way more just like occult fun or like drama or just like silly or like cute. Like there's just so many that are just, that I wouldn't say are this traditional horror that people see. And I thought that was a really interesting thing because I was like, as a society, what we're saying is that we get it. Like we get what the occult is supposed to be. It's supposed to be power. It's supposed to be like us finding ourselves and having spiritualism and like, you know, connecting to something else out there. And it's not something that's just black magic and scary stuff.
Yeah. It's like you either have just exorcisms, Christianity.
Yes.
Or you have spooky fun times. I feel powerless, so I'm going to watch these people enact power that is like, basically, I can't have, like, everyone wants superpowers, you know what I mean? Like, you want magic. People want magic to exist. Yeah. Because it just kind of brings more beauty to the world. Yeah. That is generally somewhat upsetting and ugly.
Yeah, and it also brings you hope, too, right? If this is something that is attainable, right? Because, like, that's the thing about occultism, right? Is that, like, almost anyone can do it if you just did it, right? Like, like anyone could be a witch, like, in quotations right now. And that, like, you can pick up some books, you can learn some things, you can feel that way. There's plenty of pagans out there who are just like, we love the earth. Like, you could literally just decide one day that that's what you are. And it is so much more attainable than being like, I'm going to go get bit by a radioactive spider and change the world. Instead, it's like, I'm going to take back control of my life and do things that make me feel better. And, like, in ways that are more achievable than if I was like, I have to go to the doctor and spend $5,000 for this treatment when I really could just do a homeopathic thing. As long as it's not like, you know, like chemotherapy, you can't do that at home. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents about that. But yeah, I think occult in film is super fun. And we're going to talk about 2 that we watched that one I think was fun.
Yeah, I would agree.
And the other was interesting.
Yeah. Films. Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff.
So we watched 2 films.
We did.
So we watched The Endless from 2016, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. And this film is super interesting.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
It's the same directors who did Spring. So if you watch or listen to our Lovecraft episode, was it No, it wasn't Lovecraft. If you watch,
it was our Loving Monsters
episode. Yes. Yeah. Spring is kind of like the Before Sunset, but with Lovecraftian horror a little bit.
Because tentacle monsters. Yeah. And love.
But love. Yeah. That was really the point.
And it was a good film. It was a good film.
They do a really good job of taking like really big, intense Lovecraftian topics and making them more digestible and like, but what if real life happened? What do you do as a real person and you don't live in the 1920s and you're racist? Like,
it makes it real practical.
Yeah.
It's like practical ways to deal with the big bad that you never can beat or understand.
Yes. So what The Endless is about is, as kids, they escaped a UFO death cult. Now, 2 adult brothers seek answers after an old videotape surfaces and brings them back to where they began. Yeah. One, the most the biggest stretch I saw in this film is the fact that they had a videotape and they were able to watch it. I was like, one, they can barely afford food, but somehow they have this ancient technology known as a VCR or a camera.
Yeah, so it shows like a very brief scene where it's the brothers at a yard sale.
Oh, okay.
And he buys
That's what I missed.
and he uses
still,
the
who
money
does
that
that?
they would use to fix their car battery.
To fix
on
that. Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's a bad... I see. Okay. Who even has those at yard sales? I just thought they were just gone forever. But
No,
that was
they
the
have to
biggest
exist.
stretch I found.
Yeah.
But now that I'm seeing that, and I guess I wasn't looking, that
Phone
makes a lot more
games.
sense.
Am
And
I
that's
right?
like kind of... That's kind of how the deal is that we have these two brothers who escaped a UFO death cult, in quotations.
Yeah.
It's very much supposed to be like, he even says it, like one of the characters says it, that it's kind of like a Heaven's Gate ripoff of a cult, right? Like there's even references, like someone finds a white sneaker. It's classic of them. The fact that they feel like they have to die to catch, like, suicide cults are very rare. That's not really how it works. Generally, it's like after, like, they don't set out to do suicide.
Yeah.
Usually it's like that they have no other choice in their minds.
Yeah.
We will in the future do a cults episode because
I
feel very strongly about telling people about them because I think they get misrepresented. But in this, what I thought was interesting, and when
we're not advocating for cults, though.
we're not unadvocating for cults either. Depends on what they are.
I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is I get it. I understand. And I think that what I'm saying is we shouldn't villainize people who are in cults. Like the people who run them, yes. The people in them, no.
Okay. Yes, that's what more so I was saying. I was like, don't join a cult.
Yeah.
But it's not your fault.
Yeah. Also, like, sometimes it's really hard to find friends as an adult. Mm-hmm. And you get a whole lot of them, and they're only yours, and you're only allowed to have them. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. But what...
Am I in a cult?
No. You're not. But what made me have us watch this was I was reading about, like, I was trying to find occult things, and when it popped up, and I remembered their names, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, I was like, that sounds interesting. But this article, which I'm totally blanking on, or it was like a listicle kind of thing, but it mentioned that the Endless does, like, it has a cult in it, but it does not, like, villainize the cult.
Oh, well, yeah.
Like, ever. Like, it's like one of the only movies that we have that would be considered horror where a cult is involved and it's not like they're evil and it's just like...
it's not their fault.
Yeah. And if anything, they're like very human and they're just kind of making do, and they were genuine and they're right also. So there's like a lot to it that like, I was like, that's really cool. So I want to watch it. Because I was like, I want to see a cult getting like just understood for a minute, instead of just being like, here's the big bad and it's a cult. Like, this isn't Paranormal Activity 4. We don't need that.
Yeah.
Where you just slap on cult at the ends. I'm looking at you, Midsummer. Stop slapping just cults onto things. That cult didn't make any sense. I'll fight people about it.
Yeah.
But in this, we have two brothers. They are communicated to via this tape, which brings them back to their desert cult. There's a bunch of people who eerily look the same age.
Yeah, then when they left.
Yeah, when they were children, they ran away. Mm-hmm. Before the ascension or whatever, which is presumably they were going to die. Yeah. And they obviously haven't died. Because he's like looking at them.
Like, they're here.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The younger brother doesn't, because he was too young to kind of know why it was dangerous, has this like yearning to do that, to like go back.
Yeah, a lot of the things that they did there were very positive. There was like this very real sense of community. They really took care of each other. They like grew their own food, like healthy food, like real food, not ramen noodles. Like it was freshly brewed corn and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they instilled like, they gave them space to explore their own creativity and really empowered each other to like do the best that they could, and love whatever it is. Like everyone had their own thing and they were very good at it. Yeah. And it was like cute. And so he missed that because now it's just him and his brother and they're struggling and they just haven't they never had guidance. They don't know what they're doing.
Capitalistic society that a lot of times sucks.
Yeah. So they honestly it just seems like they ran away from a commune. There's also the older brother mentions that the that it was a sick cult. I really felt like he just read about Heaven's Gate, and then that's what he was feeding to the younger brother, because he also talks about castration, which did happen in Heaven's Gate to a few of those members. So it was kind of like, look how bad they are. They are like the epitome of bad cult. Like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, and also it was Flavor Aid, but don't do that, like, kind of thing. And I don't think it really deserved a cult, like, designation from what the little brother was saying. It really felt like more like just a commune. Like, they didn't have one leader who was making them do that.
Yeah, it was definitely commune-y, and it was like, it seemed like they were happy, and it just happened to be that horrific things were also speaking to them.
Yeah. So that's the big twist, because this is Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, right? So they do love Lovecraft, and they put Lovecraftian things into, like, their work. And, like, supernatural, scary things. So the occult comes in, and that they are a cult. They are a cult that believes that there is this big thing, supernatural creature.
Yeah, big guy.
That talks to them or interacts with them through videos. And pictures. Like Polaroid. Like, and paintings, too. Like, because he changed the page. So pretty much like art in videos, he communicates. This is actually a trend because Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead had a film called Resolution that came out years before with these two guys where one friend has the other friend chained to a bed to get him sober because he was addicted to cocaine, and they end up like interacting with some large creature that communicates via video. So, and then we find out in this film that they're there. They're actually involved in whatever the Endless is. And I was like, what is this? It was so weird because
you had seen the trailer and you were like, what?
Yeah, I saw the trailer for Resolution. I haven't seen Resolution yet, but I definitely will. And so when those two guys showed up, I was like, why have I guess this was the movie that I saw a trailer for, but they left out like the entire plot of the rest of this film.
It wasn't.
And then I was like, I was researching, and it was like, and just like in Resolution, it communicates through videotapes. I was like, wait, hold on, there's another one. And then I was like, all right, here it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this, we're about to get into spoiler zone. So put on, if you skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. I do suggest this film. It's done really well, and it was good. It's fun. Not like scary. It's just kind of like mind trip. Is that so there is a creature.
Yeah.
It does exist. It does communicate with them, and it has this power that if you die during its like ascension time, when there's 3 moons in the sky and they're all full, if you die during that time, suggesting that it's more that you give yourself to it, so like killing yourself, or if you don't kill yourself but you're trapped in there, it kills you real bad. Yeah. So it's like you kind of end up killing yourself anyway because you don't want it to kill you. Yeah. But you just that equals, you gave it to him. Yeah. So if you die in there, there are these like skull or weird like sticks in the ground.
Yeah, there's sticks in the ground
that indicate like plot.
The little domes.
Yeah, so there's like domes of time, and so if you're in them, that how large the dome is designates how much time before you're reset. So if you die, you come back from when you started in this area in that dome, and you live until you die again.
Yeah, and it just resets, does it over.
For forever. Yeah. The two guys from Resolution, at the end of Resolution, it's just darkness and you don't know what happened to them. Surprise, they're stuck in a loop. Yeah. So spoilers for a different movie we're not talking about. Yeah. Only because this is the end for that. There's a guy who's he's like trapped in like a really small one. He's like between a bunch of those things, and his loop is like 5 seconds. Yeah, it's like really he pops up and dies, pops up and dies. Another guy has like a few minutes or like 30 minutes, right?
He just walks around angrily and then dies.
Yeah, and then this cult has 10 years. Yeah. Which is exactly enough time for the brothers to come back right before another ascension. So, yeah, like he did appropriately leave because they were going to kill themselves.
Yeah, and they were going to get trapped in there.
Yeah, for that whole time.
Yeah. But I don't think they did end up killing themselves. No. I think they ascended, which was dying. But the monster does it. They stand in a circle and the monster doesn't, I'm pretty sure.
I took it as that they did kill themselves. I thought that they actually did the suicide cult.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was like, they did it, and this was the one time it was right. Like, I mean, it's wrong because they're stuck in a time loop, but it's also right because now they can just be reanimated for 10 more years to perfect whatever it is they wanted. Because they, for some reason, remember everything from before.
Well, because, it seems like, so there was, like, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
There was a room full of tapes. Mm-hmm. So, essentially, you would, it said, like, 1942, which is way more than 10 years. So, it's like, it's suggested that, like, they had found them when they were little kids after their mom had died.
Yeah.
In that car crash. It had been, like, maybe a 5-year mark.
No.
And then they raised them a little bit, and then they were getting close to the ascension, and that's when the brother left. So before they got trapped in the loop.
Yes, they left. So they had been trapped in this loop since the 40s. The
brothers couldn't have.
The brothers weren't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The cult has been there since the 40s, and then during one of their 10-year loops, they saved the kids and were a part of their group, and then the kids ran away right before the ascension, and then they had 10 more years when they were outside of the cult, and when they came back, it was right back to the ascension again, which is like, what? And it turned out like no one sent them that tape. It was actually a monster the whole time.
They wanted them to come back.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they wouldn't want to do it. They didn't have anything else going for them.
Yeah, I feel like I'd enjoy my 10 years.
I was like, I kind of.
But their loop would have been really short. So what they would have had to do is come back right after the ascension had happened and then enjoy 10 years and then redo it. And then
do it. Yeah. I think they should definitely come back. I was like, cool.
That's a nice place. Yeah. Outside of the monster. It's like a grand old time.
There's a quote from Justin Benson or Aaron Moorhead, one of the directors, that I'm going to butcher. But essentially what he was trying to say was that the brothers kind of had their own loop in that there was like this trend that they would follow where the older brother would say, this is what we're doing, and the younger brother would relent and do it, whatever it was. And it was just like was their routine. That's what always happened, even though the younger brother is sad. So during the end, which was like, I thought a little disappointing, the younger brother's like, no, I'm going to stay. And then the older brother relents and is like, okay, then I'll stay with you.
Yeah.
And so it's like this turn. And so they kind of broke their own loop. And that's what really allowed them to leave. Yeah. Is that they had this emotional loop that they broke. And that like kind of like freed them.
Yeah.
Which is like, when I hear him say that or I read that he said that, then I was like, okay, I get why he said that really petty thing. Like, where he was like, I just wanted you to agree with me. I was like, really? Now is the time when there is a supernatural being? Yeah. Like, this is really not the time. You are the worst. I'm leaving you here. Like, I cannot right now.
It's like, you literally almost just doomed us.
For your, like, petty, like, listen, we can have a big boy talk outside.
Yeah, right?
Outside like, of the dome. Like, that's when you knock them upside the head and you take them outside anyway. And then you're like, listen, you weren't being yourself.
I helped.
Sorry.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I definitely recommend it. And it was refreshing in that, you know, we don't get really cliche monsters. It was like, it's not over the top gore. Everything kind of happens off screen, but it was still really kind of scary and it was suspenseful.
Yeah. And then like in knowing what happened at the end, I kind of want to rewatch it. Yeah. It was like, it was effective enough. And I want to like see all the different loops so I can like kind of see if there's other films. Cause you said the resolution exists. So I want to see that and then like kind of compare, you know?
Yeah. We're definitely going to do that. But we watched another thing.
We did. We watched A Dark Song from 2016, directed by Liam Gavin. So a determined young woman and a damaged occultist risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want.
Yeah.
So it was a time. It wasn't bad.
No, I don't think it was bad.
Weird.
It was not what I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And then when I kind of like figured out like, oh, this is what we're doing, then I was like, okay, let me sit down and accept that this is what it is, and then it was fine.
Yeah.
But before that, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be occulty, it's going to be weird, there's going to be spooky things. Yeah. And there are some spooky things sprinkled in, but a lot of it is just honestly focused on like the rituals, which that was like you know what? I never really think about like what real rituals are. And I was like, and it's so absurd that I feel like I kind of believe it.
Yeah.
Like because the way that they kind of see it is more like religious themed.
Mm-hmm. Like Kabbalah.
Yeah. So it's like there's like a very old like religious kind of thread in there.
Yeah.
So all
Jewish mysticism and other things.
Yeah. So like the rituals, I kind of believed it. I was like, yeah, old religion would have these like dark and like peculiar and like very visceral like procedures, and it would be a lot about like your blood and your tears and like your just, body fluids.
Yeah. Generally just like uncomfortability and like similar like
discomfort.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. But yeah, just basically like purifying yourself is something that they said a lot, which is just basically not eating.
Yeah. Not having sex.
Yeah. Doing like bare minimum existing essentially to like purify yourself enough to see
fasting, lots of fasting,
an angel.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing. Yeah.
So what we have is a woman who her story is that her son has died. Mm-hmm. And so she employs this man, presumably from the internet, who has conducted rituals before and has seen demons and angels and just messed around, and demons are afraid of him or whatever. And they're gonna do these rituals to get to 2 angels, because they'll get 1 each, and then they get to ask the angel whatever, and they get it.
Yeah.
Her original, like what she says she wants is to talk to her son.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that really says like she wants him back or she just kind of wants to like see him for one last time.
Yeah.
So he was abducted from a child care facility. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to get into Spoiler Town. Remember. So we're in Spoiler Town.
We're here. We're there now.
Stop one, Spoiler Town. And then she says that a bunch of kids did Satanism to him and murdered him, which is like a big old lie. That's a big
bunch lie.
That's not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Like kids definitely kill other kids, yes, but not for Satanism. And
I don't think that's what happened.
No, and we never really get a clear answer.
In the film, I don't think that's what happened. It was very confusing into how he ended up actually dying.
Yeah.
And it seemed like she did it and was trying to forgive herself.
She definitely said it's her fault. It's essentially like she was neglecting him because she was supposed to pick him up and she didn't. And instead, she was with some man. And so her neglect as a mother did it cause his death? Because even if he had been abducted by anybody and murdered, which is more realistic than a bunch of kids who murder for Satan, then yeah, it is like she would of course feel that guilt. But she goes through a few things where she's always lying, which damaged the ritual. And then we have the guy who's like such a jerk. He also lied a bunch and damaged the ritual. At the end, we hear that he really just wanted to see his sister. It wasn't that he wanted invisibility, like he said. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird because a lot of it, like, what was weird to me was that I was like, this very easily could go one of two ways. Like, I was like, I really don't know if it's going to turn out that it was real and the rituals are really happening, or it's going to be like these two people were unhinged and that they didn't eat, so they started hallucinating and they were just hurting themselves. Like, because the things that, like, he says are signs are just kind of normal things. Yeah.
And, like, just bad stuff happening.
Yeah.
Like, just a bad time for everybody. Like, the most scary thing about this film is that it was just really uncomfortable the whole time. Yeah. And I don't know. I never fully loved those films.
Yeah, I don't really uncomfortable the whole time.
Like, just for the sake of it. But it seemed like they went in really educated to, like, how they filmed the movie. Mm-hmm. It seemed like they had taken it from real writings and things that, like, actually were written down in terms of existing. And it wasn't, like, torture porn. Like, you didn't see, like, gory, unnecessary, like, torture or trauma. Like, it was just, like, here are some really, like, really messed up things that people probably historically have done. Yeah, just, like, raw. It was raw. Yeah. It wasn't, like, unnecessary. It was just raw. Yeah. It was okay. I thought the coolest, like, part
was there's like, I guess like she's seeing in the darkness, there's like a chair and there's a cigarette just like hovering in the darkness.
Yeah, that was scary.
And
I was
you
scared
could
for
see
a second.
like it looked like someone was smoking the cigarette because it would do that thing where it kind of like lights up a little more and dims and lights up a little more and dims because that's what cigarettes do. But there's no one there. And then, yeah, I thought that was really cool. I was like, that's the coolest thing they've done this whole time.
Yeah, that was like the one part I was like, oh, I'm watching again.
Yeah.
Cool. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool they went all smarts with it too. Like they really tried to follow. It says Book of Abramelin, which is Kabbalistic grimoire, which I think he says in the film too.
I think so. Yeah, he definitely calls it a grimoire, I think.
And it's like written from Roman numeral century.
Yeah, 14th and 15th century.
Yep.
By a Jewish German magic scholar named Abraham von Worms.
Excellent.
So in this, because we found this article,
From toilettohell.com, which makes me think it is accurate.
yes.
It sounds
the
real
article
educational.
Is the link-up spell unveiling the secrets of a dark song. And they say the long ritual described in the book and later adopted in the film was taught to Worms by the magician Abramelin in the lost city of Iraqi, Egypt. The highly detailed system was decoded by the author, and he passed the knowledge to his son, Lamech, who compiled it as the Operation Abrelin. So just like it happens in the movie, the ritual must be done in 1 year, which is a hell of a long time. The preparations include a stark lifestyle, a daily prayer regimen, the privations of all earthly pleasures for the safety of the practitioner, and the goal of this hard exercise is to summon the holy guardian angel, a personal spirit, not with the magician's soul, to gain occult knowledge and spells.
Yeah.
So it's like you sacrifice a whole year, you're fasting, you're praying every day. I feel like you're kind of like a nun. Like nuns do that. Why don't they have special guardian angels?
Maybe they do. We just don't know.
Maybe.
There has to be a
That's
reason
true.
you're trying to marry God.
Well, because Jesus is hot. Anyway.
That's not what it is, Gabe.
No, that's not what it is.
What it
That's not what it is. The angel, I thought, spoilers, the angel at the end, I thought was really funny, but also I thought it was cool. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, it's so big. Although, I will say this, that's not what angels look like. I guess maybe in the Jewish...
know.
In the Christian and Catholic Bible, angels are terrifying. That's why whenever they show up, they're like, do not be afraid.
Yeah.
Because they've got like so many things. They're really terrifying. So this might just be a different version of what angels look like. But they're usually like, I was like, that would have been great for the horror. That would have been the scary thing is to show a real angel. But they showed like more, it looked more to me like a Nephilim, which is when an angel and a human have sex and then have a baby. That's what a Nephilim is.
Cool.
So like Goliath was a Nephilim, presumably, because he was so large. But it's like this big, pretty blonde boy.
Yeah.
And he grants her
Blonde
what she
babe.
wants. I won't tell you what it is, but he does.
Yeah.
She gets it.
It was time.
But I want God. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
So if you like it, it's not all cults.
Yeah.
Because it's just as bad as it sounds.
Yep.
Not all cults. And if you don't like it, it's...
If you're gonna do all that stuff, you're gonna waste a whole year of your life. You're gonna try
Doing
to
a ritual.
summon the things. Don't lie.
Yeah.
You just made it longer for yourself.
Yeah.
It's much worse.
Like what... If you... The
You're
problem...
already doing stuff.
Yeah, the problem is, like, she believes so wholeheartedly in this ritual and in spirituality. Like, why wouldn't she think that, like, an angel would know she's lying?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you think that? Like, why wouldn't you think that would sully in some... Like, you gotta come in fresh.
And also, you're
Both of
spending
them.
so much money and a year of your life, and you don't fully believe in this stuff.
And you also don't know
do
what you
it
want.
then. Like, don't do it then.
So absurd.
If you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nah.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't half butt one 2 things. Whole butt, 1 thing.
Yes.
That's
a censored version of Parks and Rec quote.
yeah.
From Ron Swanson.
Yep. That's the censored version for you guys. Okay, Kat. Well, what about for the topic of occultism?
It's cool. Yeah. I don't remember what we said a second ago.
Not all cults.
Not all cults. It's not all cults. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I want to bury jars in my yard and think I'm doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was
makes you feel a little more powerful.
We lived in the castle. We once lived. We have always lived in the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah. By our gal Shirley Jackson. Yeah, the character buries jars in the yard, just for everyone to know.
Yeah, I guess you didn't listen.
To protect everyone. Yeah, I agree. Not all cults for occultism.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I've never thought cults were bad, and they are some. But
it's not just cults.
Misunderstood. Yeah.
It's
and I also
occultism,
think
so it's a lot of different
I think
stuff.
witchcraft, is cool. I think spiritualism is cool as long as you're not taking advantage of people.
Yeah.
As long as it's for good. I'm sure there's people who do that for bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually Satanism is not as bad as everyone says either.
Yeah. It doesn't got to be Satan. It's just like supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
Like you just don't know. You don't get it. That's
and
okay.
Regardless,
no one knows everything. That's the problem with the world. Everyone thinks they know everything, and then they're jerks.
Yeah, I think what I really love about this topic and what we were talking about is this idea of like just going back to a time when things weren't just black and white, evil and good. When it was just like that is magic, different, special, and we respect it.
Yeah,
like let's just go back to that.
Put
some respect on occultism and spirituality. Put respect on its name. Yeah. And then we'll be in a better place. Yeah, use it to get your power back. Let's do it. Let's all put a hex on a specific, not my president.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
Let me tell you this. If you're not a witch, there is no such thing as a witch hunt for you. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Specifically,
also let women live.
It's historically like for him to say it's a witch hunt when he is taking our rights away, and witch hunts are historically there to murder women who don't want to conform and just be like a slave. Like no, thank you. Yeah. So what about
don't marry me and then kill me when my kids are gone?
Yeah, or if I don't give you a son.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Ugh. There's just such a long history of horrible things that happen to women. Did you know?
Yeah. That's what Cat's History Corner.
I hate it. It makes me so mad.
What about the Endless and a Dark Song?
For the Endless, not every cult.
Yeah.
But for a dark song,
yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah, I didn't love a dark song.
I just thought it was I don't know.
I didn't. What really?
I don't like
just,
movies that are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just really didn't like the guy in it. Like she was awful too, but I didn't like how aggressive he was and manipulative and just gross.
Like, just like from the beginning.
Yeah, I was just so uncomfortable with his presence that just like as a woman who's had to interact with men who are like that, and the fact that this woman was like putting herself in the position to have to deal with that guy.
Very vulnerable position.
Yeah, like locked in a house, and he the whole time, like me, paranoia pants over here, was like. He could be anyone and could literally have used this opportunity to like hurt you and take advantage of you and like your spirituality. And
I was
then like
so scared
you can't
the whole
leave.
time. I thought that's what the horror of the horror movie was.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's nothing to do with
like,
it.
thank God it wasn't that. Like, thank God
that would have been
other stuff.
Just really awful.
I was so worried. I really didn't like him ever. Like, there's parts where he was supposed to be redeemable and I was still like, no.
Yeah.
You know, just good for you. I'm glad that this is how you happened to you. I'm not gonna spoil it, but good. I was so
he
mad.
was just kind of awful.
For someone who's done this ritual so many times, right, and presumably has so much power from it, like he seemed like nothing. Like I wouldn't believe him if he was like, I've done this a few times and it's worked, and sometimes it doesn't, and you look like this and you act like this. Like that's not what someone who has power acts like. So I don't believe you. Yeah. I'm gonna find another sketchy man on the internet instead.
Yeah, no, he was just really mean, like from the get go. And it was just like, it was cringy. It was nerve wracking.
But the Endless was fun.
Very uncomfortable. Endless was really fun.
Yeah, it was very motivational for me as a writer who loves writing weird stuff like that.
We're just like, what?
Yeah, I was like, yes, I'm so like, I really liked where everything was going, and I just really enjoy them. I'm gonna watch Resolution, and anything they ever make, I will watch.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
I will be in their corner
Until they do something bad, or if they do something bad.
Inevitably, as it is. But yeah, although I do hope that they do know that women can be pedophiles.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole line in there where they
the brother's like, yes, they can be pedophiles. And he's like,
the younger one's like, no, they can't. Because it's like, no, all right, hold on.
He was shutting him down. He was like, go to bed because you're saying bad stuff.
I was like, we're not putting this under the rug. I just want it to be known. And if either one of these men did not know that, that is the case.
Definitely can.
And men can be taken advantage of. So let's not, all right, putting that one to bed. Just want to put that little...
That's why I kept saying to go to bed.
Yep. Exactly. It is in bed now. So if anyone is wondering. All right. Yeah. So that was Occultism.
Yeah.
And next week for the month of December, we're jumping into a new series.
Woo!
So stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a good time.
That was a loud sound I made. I think it's going to be fun. That's what that means. So.
All right. Well, don't get married.
Don't eat your kids.
Cool. Or, well, they get murdered and then you have to do a very year-long ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.